Hello, everyone. Welcome to LeeLa. I'm Lee Philbrook. It's going to be a great show this evening. To start off with, we're going to do a short background on your host, followed by an opening intention. And then we'll have our special guest, Jessica Tudos, who'll be talking about seasonal organizing, heart and home, followed by some questions, a poem, and then our closing intention. So here we go. I'd like to introduce my co-host, Lisa English.
Thank you, Lee. Welcome to LeeLa, everyone. This is a place where we hope to inspire you all to live a more conscious and intentional life. It's also a place where you can play, grow, learn, and explore. I'm a teacher, entrepreneur, and content creator for small businesses, where I help them navigate this digital world that we're all living in right now, whether that's via Zoom, social media, or any online marketing platforms. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it back over to my co-host, Lee Philbrook.
Thanks. I'm a Reiki master, a cranial sacral therapist, a master practitioner of NLP and hypnotherapy. And NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is like learning the language of the mind. It's like getting the owner's manual to your mind. I often hear the phrases, I wish things were different, or I feel stuck in the circumstances in my life. And I notice that these individuals are not making long-lasting changes, or they just continue to express why things don't work. The tools and techniques that I employ with my clients create sustainable shifts, and they are now living their best lives. So now we are going to do our opening intention. So this really connects us, creates community, and holds the space for the evening. So please close your eyes. May divine grace surround us, uphold us, and cherish us all. May it support us and our sacred trust and community. May we be strong together and our journeys be brighter and higher for having walked side by side. May we be guides for others and ourselves with clarity, tenderness, and light. Feeling gentle in our minds and clear with our words, being strong in our creations, sending peace in all directions of time. With gratitude, we take this moment to arrive together and join. Open your eyes. Welcome to the room. I'm now going to pass it over to Lisa to introduce our special guest.
As the founder of Kika Creative, Jessica Tudos helps busy, multi-passionate people transform physical and mental clutter into clarity to create the foundation and freedom to thrive. Drawing from her unique educational, coaching, and Olympic experiences, Jessica creates personalized decluttering and sustainable organizing systems that enable high achievers to accomplish more. Her multidisciplinary approach offers progressive ideas and creative solutions that inspire meaningful action and transformation. It is now my pleasure to pass the floor over to our special guest, Jessica Tudos.
Hello, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me. It's really great always to talk about something I love and something I'm so passionate about and something that I know can really help us, especially during fall. This is such a time of transition. There's such a strong energy in the air, and we're moving away from summer and into this fall season. So I will begin by showing you a few images and some slides just to set the stage for what we'll do next, which is the action part. And we're actually going to do a small organizing project right here, right today. So that's great. That's taking action. So I'm going to share my screen right now and get the PowerPoint going. Okay, so I am at the end of the PowerPoint, so I'd like to go back to the beginning. So you'll get to sneak preview of all the things that are coming. Look at those nice images. I'm going to start with one that is perhaps the iconic fall image. And I think what I'd like to do actually is ask you, what do you think about, and I'm going to open the chat up so I can see, when you see this image, what comes to mind? Can you just type one word into the chat? You should see the chat function there. I hope it's clear. And I'd love to just know one word. What's the first word that comes to mind? Cottage. That's great. Rich. Any other words that come to mind? Crisp. Colorful. Ah, these are great. These are great. Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty strong reaction usually and an idea in our mind of what fall can bring. And so another way to think about fall is this. You know, in our society, often, you know, this is back to school season. Whether you have children or not, it seems like society is really shifting into this scheduled back to school season. And so, you know, we're sort of leaving again the summer. I mean, this year is so different. So it's a little bit difficult to talk about it in sort of exact ways, but we do feel this shift into school mode, academic mode, that the calendar has changed. In another tradition, in Eastern tradition, Chinese tradition, this time of year, again, powerful transitional energy. It's actually the earth element in the middle there. So we've got wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And fall is represented by earth. And if you think about the earth underneath us, the foundation gives us life, you know, it's really a powerful idea to work with. So I find that really interesting, you know, the Eastern and the Western sort of ways of looking at this season. A little bit about me and what brings me to this work. Here are my elements, I guess you could say. And, you know, it's interesting how you end up doing the things you do. You can't really plan it. And, you know, as a young teenager, a young child actually, and into my teen years, I had this very unique background. I was an Olympic gymnast, and that was an incredible experience, which really taught me about hard work and dedication and you know, perfectionism. These are the bad things, right? The things of like measuring up and being judged. So that all sits with me. As I moved on, I got into education, and I've been an educator for most of my career, experiential education. You see some of my students there. That was a colorful presentation that they gave. My family is grounding. Jeremy and Sebastian are, you know, the two boys in my life. We live in downtown Toronto. And of course, my extended family. I think my mom and my sister are here tonight. So shout out to mom and sis. And that's great. And my dad's probably at home, not sure how to get on tech. So and the last picture is just a more recent evolution of my work. Again, always being coming from teaching and that educational background, I've parlayed that into organizing and helping people turn their clutter into clarity and really making space feel great and the stuff in it feel valuable and what you actually want in your life. So that's what brings me to this work. So if you, this quote, I think captures it. If you think of your life as a masterpiece, imagine like, what are you making? What are you creating? And I really like that idea of we actually have it in us to do this and to create what we want. And, you know, when we talk about organizing, it's in our power to do it. It's not always easy, and it's really not easy to do alone sometimes. But we do, if we're the masterpiece, let's create. So again, new beginnings, new shifting, new sort of coming into fall. What could that look like for you? What, you know, if you just imagine, maybe just take a moment actually and reflect on what will this fall bring? It's such a strange and uncertain time. And I know that's so stressful for so many of us in different ways. And And yet there's still that hope that, well, we can make the best of it, and let's try to do that. So when we talk about organizing, often people ask me, what do you think about Marie Kondo? And if you don't know her, she's this quiet, sort of gentle soul, this Japanese woman who has put organizing and decluttering on the map. I mean, single-handedly, her book has transformed so many lives. And her main question that she asks is, okay, does this spark joy? Do the things that surround you and your surroundings spark joy? So what I love about, I like some of her techniques for sure. Some of them are pretty intricate and detailed. So, you know, you take what you want and let go of the rest. But what she's done is put decluttering and organizing in the minds of people as something that is really, really helpful and can really change lives and really help people feel more in control, more at ease, and just being able to handle things in a better way. So for that, amazing, amazing. So when we think about clutter, and perhaps you're thinking about some clutter that might be surrounding you right now, how does it affect us? Because it does. It surely does, on 4 levels. Physically, I mean, if we actually have to physically move through it or move it out of the way to get somewhere, that's one element of physical, but it's also, yeah, it just, your body reacts to this feeling of heaviness. That leads into the mental. Again, heaviness, good word. People say, I just feel heavy. I feel this weight. I feel this I feel this pressure. Emotionally, again, lots of guilt, lots of feeling bad about the situation. And behaviorally, what does that lead to? You know, sometimes they don't want people to come to their house because they're embarrassed. They don't want to take the next step and create a great workspace at home because, oh my God, I will never get there. I have I can't even start. I don't know where to start. So even if you want to take action, you can't always take action because, again, this sort of heaviness of the clutter. So it has a big effect on all of us. If you imagine a kitchen that looks like this, and again, this is something I've seen, and people get busy. I mean, that's part of it. We have busy lives and we don't, you know, there's not always time to put things away. Looking at the other picture, you know, what's that feeling, that calmness, that sort of ease with which perhaps you can enjoy what you're eating and how you're eating. Again, this is probably, you know, it's a Pinterest perfect picture. So, you know, our lives are not all Pinterest, but it does have that sense of like the before and after. What can happen? Progress can happen. It definitely can. Mentally, I don't know if anyone feels a bit like the brain picture there with lots of stuff. I know I do sometimes, many times. There's clutter, so many ideas, so many to-dos. It can really become overwhelming. And again, this lovely image of a woman, you know, closed eyes and just in her space, with herself, and it just isn't that something nice to strive towards, something nice that we could all work towards. Another quote I really like, pretty simple: let go or be dragged. When it comes to decluttering and organizing, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, we have the power to decide. We really do. That doesn't make it easy, but we do have a choice. And so we can let go. We can let go of some of the fears and some of the distractions and some of those things. Sometimes we can be dragged, which probably is not as good as the letting go. But sometimes circumstances force people to declutter and organize, a move, a death in the family, things like that. So in my type of work, you know, I work with both types of situations where people are choosing because they want to do this, or sometimes it's circumstance that has forced this change to happen. But in either case, going through the process that I'll talk about in just a second really helps to get to that place where you want and need to be. So again, these are some of the benefits. I think if I were to ask you like, oh, if you did a major declutter organizing in your home, like what would be better? You would probably come up with these things, right? Ease and calm and feeling good about your space, claiming some of the time back because you don't have to search for things or try to find the one thing and, but didn't, where is it? Where did I put it? I'm going to go buy another one, which leads to the money part. You're spending money on things because you can't find the original. And so, some of these benefits, if you look at that list and think, is there anything there that I'd really like to increase in my life, then this process can really help you get there. Okay, 5 reasons that we don't do this. I'm going to turn the chat off. Yeah, we don't know where to start. So if you look at that list, I'm just curious if maybe you could let me know in the chat, because I do have the chat up here, which one of these speaks to you the most? Which one of these is perhaps you may need it one day? Okay. Hard to let go because you don't know what's coming down the road. Anyone else? Too busy? Absolutely. The first one. Overwhelmed, not sure where to start. Number 3. Yep, definitely. So I think probably everyone can relate to a few of these. And, these are all reasons that people, when they share with me their struggles and why they're looking for support and help, it's usually one of these things. These are the main reasons that oftentimes, even though you want to do this, you can't, or you feel stuck, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you can't start, you feel all these things that are here. So we're going to talk about how to get through that, and here's the way we're going to do it. But before we get there, again, why are we doing this? Because we don't want the clutter part. Now we're working at our home offices a lot, right? So I don't know if anyone's office looks like this, but it's hard to keep things organized, and you've got more than one person at home and all of that. So, we can get there. We can get the clarity, but it is a bit of work. And one way to get there is to use this process. So when I really thought about what it is that I do when I work with people in this process, I broke it down into 5 steps. And it happened to be my last name. So that's kind of cool, the Tudos technique. So think, uncover, decide, organize, systematize, which I think sustain is the better word. So I think that might be a slight shift. And really going through those steps allows people to break it down and make it manageable. So we are going to do that in just a sec. We're going to think about what we want. We're going to I'm going to actually uncover what's in my purse and show you. And I'm going to show you how I decide, sort, like by like. And then I'm quickly going to organize. We won't have that much time to do that part, but you'll get the idea. And we'll talk about how to sustain that. Because if everything has a home, it's way better to sustain, right? It's easier. So these are the categories we are going to organize our items into. So in just a second, I'm going to make my way over to the couch area because I'm going to show you exactly how I do this with my own purse. And I'm hoping that you have something that you can do, whether it's a purse, a bag, a pile of paper, perhaps you're near a shelf or a drawer. Now's the time to get ready, to get settled up, and I'm going to meet you over there and we'll talk through the process. Okay. I'm hoping everybody can hear me and everything is good. I am going to walk you through the process that I use, the Tudos technique of actually decluttering and getting ready to organize my purse. So I'm going to get to this in a second. Here is my purse. It's black on black, but you can see it's pretty big. Carries a lot of things. I use it every day. And right now what I'm going to do, if we had a drum roll, this would be the time. I'm going to just dump it. So if you've got something in front of you, now's the time to spread it out, take it out, do whatever you need to do to see it. So here we go. Man, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, so the first step, actually, before I dumped it, we could have done the first step, but that's okay, because we're thinking about what we want. I would like a purse that functions really well. I want to be prepared, I want to have what I need on me, and I want it to be in a place that's accessible. So I'm thinking, T for thinking, about what I want. What's my end goal? So now I'm uncovering what's actually in my purse. So at this point, I hope you are ready to sort. So you're uncovering by sorting like with like. So in my case, I'm going to start putting like sort of beauty and makeup and things like that over here. Okay, so I'm putting things into categories that are similar. So I've got hand cream, then I've got a snack category. So I'm going to do tea and granola bar and what else do I have? Candy and okay, I've got lots of like beauty type things. Then I've got this category which is office, like notepad, pens, you know, things like that, note-taking, stuff like that. So I'm going to put that over there. Okay. Then I've got lots of pens. Wow, you really realize what you know. Okay, then there's random things. We're going to talk about that in a second. So again, I'm putting my like with like. So depending what you have in front of you, you know, again, with the purse, it's kind of, those are categories that you would use. I've got money type things. I've got glasses. I've got masks. That's new, right? I've got sort of earmuffs. I've got glasses, but these aren't mine. These are to return. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, so now I've got everything sorted into basically the categories that I want. I've got a garbage pile, things I do not need anymore. Okay, so again, I'm going to put this tape up because these are the categories. Keep. Of these things that I have on the couch here, what do I want to keep? What do I want to recycle? What do I want to toss? I'll put toss over here. What do I want to donate? Again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a closet, you might have a lot of items to donate. Right? In a purse, not so much. Action is a really good category because that's where there's something that needs to happen. So in this case, I've got all my things here, and now I'm looking at my categories and I'm seeing what I have. And I'm seeing toss is my first thing. I hope you can, yeah, everyone can see me. So I'll move it a little over here. A little more room. So I don't need the used Kleenex. I really don't. I'm actually going to switch it up. I'm going to put recycle here, and I'm going to put action. So I hope everybody is okay with sorting what they have, putting like with like, whatever those categories are. Use your best judgment. And now the next step, toss, recycle, donate, and action. Okay, I need to recycle this paper. Okay, I've got that. Donate. Do I have anything in here to donate? I don't have anything to donate in this particular thing, but if I did, that's where it would go. Action. I've definitely got actions because I want to give this to my friend Corey for her daughter. So I'm going to put that in the action pile. The other thing I'm going to do is return these to Sebastian. So those go in my action pile. things that go in action might be fixing, returning. Let's say I had to renew my driver's license. That would be in the action pile because I need to do that. So that's something that needs to be done. The rest of these things are all to keep. I'm keeping these things right now. So there are my categories. The next step, so I've uncovered what I had, U for uncover, like with like. The next step is to decide, what am I keeping? What needs action? What am I donating? What am I recycling? And what am I tossing? What am I getting rid of? Okay, those are really the important categories to go through. So I think what I'd like to do is just give you a few minutes to work through this process and try to get, again, green tape and Sharpies are an organizer's best friends, always, always, always. And that, if you're doing this on a larger scale, you would use this and you could set this up, set it up in your house, put the tape on the wall, or get boxes ready, donate, whatever, recycle, garbage, and that way it makes the process really easy. Okay, so I think I am now going to slowly talk, I'm going to talk about how to actually organize now. That's the next step, right? Once you decide what you need, what you don't need, then you want to organize it. And one thing I really like to think about when organizing is, what's your prime real estate? You think about, in this case, my purse, right? What do I want to have the easiest access to? That needs to go in the place where I can get to it. So for me, that means my wallet, my mask, and my glasses. Those tend to be what I need the most. And so, this is a zipper. This has many pouches, which is good and bad because sometimes you can lose things in them. But for me, I know that my wallet always goes in here in the front pocket. So I'm actually, I don't know if anyone else does this, but I actually put it closest to where the zipper opens on the side like that. So I don't always have to open the whole zipper to get to it. I put it close over here. So sometimes I can just reach in. Not everyone needs to do it to that level, but hey, that's something I've just gotten used to. So I put my glasses in there as well. And normally I have my keys, so that would go in there as well. I don't keep a lot of things in this front pocket because this is my go-to pocket. I don't want it to be cluttered. It has to be easy access. The phone is now being used as a camera, but normally my phone would go on the other side. I have one pocket here, and I know that that's where my phone goes. So I don't have to dig around, I don't have to search for it, and that really makes things easier. If you're doing something else, because again, this is a purse example, let's say you're working on a shelf or a drawer. If you're looking at the shelf, what's at eye level, right? Or you're looking at a whole organizational shelving unit. The things you want the easiest access to should go at your eye level, or a pantry. That's another good example, right? If you really like to eat super healthy breakfasts, well, put the super healthy breakfast stuff right in the front so that you can access it easily every time. You don't have to dig for it or pull this or go here. This is all about making it easier. So again, with my purse, this makes it easy for me. Inside, I've got, other little pockets. And so I've got I would take my sort of office-y things, I'm calling them, the pens and all that, and put that in one pocket. So I've got all that. And then I've got another zippered pocket, and that's where I put my sort of health and beauty, let's call it, health and beauty things, lozenges, hand cream. I've got a pen that goes over there, Advil, tampon, cream, those kinds of things. My mask, again, I mentioned, easy access, goes in the front pocket. Now, another trick to always think about, whether it's a purse or something else, is vertical storage, because that way you don't have things piling up on top of each other. So I have my makeup kit. can see that, right? So I could put it this way and things go on top of it, but I tend to put it in vertically because then I can see it and I can see many more things beside it. So this is really helpful, especially in a kitchen where you've got lots of things or actually with paperwork as well. The more you can do vertical, the easier it is to find things. Paperwork can be really tricky if you don't have a system in place. And again, you need to know like, what do I need access to easily? Okay, so I've got my final things here, and I'm just gonna put those final pieces in. I hope everybody is making progress on whatever it is you're working on. Maybe it's a purse, maybe it's something else. So there we go. I put everything back in my purse. So that's my key. Now I mentioned action. So again, let's pretend this is my license that needs renewal. So that would be what I do next, right? I would make this a priority. Same with returning the glasses, giving this to my friend Corey the next time I see her. So these are my action items. And one tip is to create a space, whether it's a basket or a drawer. Again, I'm visual. I need to see things because if they get too buried in a drawer, I won't do it. I won't remember to do it. It really helps to have a basket or box or something that you can put your action items in. And usually it's really helpful to have it by your front door or by the door that you access your car in if you drive a lot, because that way you'll get it done, right? You'll do it. Or maybe a reusable shopping bag. You use the same one to do your action items, because that's what can happen is they build up and then that becomes more clutter again, right? And you're not actually taking action on it. Again, recycle, toss, that's pretty self-explanatory. So that's really that's the process. Think about why you're doing it and what your end goal is. Uncover what you have. And let me just mention one thing about uncovering. So again, in a purse, it's sort of a simple way to do things. But let's say you're doing your closet, you're doing item by item. So you're on boots and you want to declutter your boots or know what you have. So you've got to get your boots from everywhere, not just the ones that are stored in your closet, but the ones by the back door that go to the garden, or the ones that go up north to the cottage, or the ones that you bought a year ago but they don't really fit and they need to be returned, so they're up high in the closet, or the ones that wherever they are in your house, you bring them all to one space so that you can see all your boots. That's just one example, right? Because often we put things in different places and it's hard to get a handle on what you actually have unless you see it all together. And imagine that could be bathroom items, that could be memorabilia, that could be so many things. So again, so T for think about what you want, why. U for uncover what you already have. D is decide what stays, what goes, what gets recycled, what gets donated, what needs action. Then you're going to organize it in a way that makes sense to you. There's many systems out there, some complicated, some very simple. Depends if you're visual, depends if you like looking at things or you want them behind a door. Everyone's different. So it's helpful to know a bit about what you respond to best. And then finally, it's about having a system and sticking with it, sustaining it, right? Have a home for everything. Because when you do, you put it back there and then you avoid the clutter sort of accumulating once again, and then you feel overwhelmed and the pattern just repeats itself. So again, I hope you're making great progress on your project. I think it's time now to go, we're going to do some question and answer time. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to ask some questions about, any type of organizing project that you've done or that you're hoping to do. And then hopefully I can answer those questions. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Lisa, and she is going to get us back.
Thanks so much, Jessica. That was really fun. Okay, so we're going to do some questions now. So if you do have any questions for Jessica, you can throw them in the chat box and I will read them out to her. I'm going to start with the first one, and this is going to open up some discussion. So Jessica, in your experience, what is the biggest challenge for most people completing that decluttering process?
Great. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to start my video. You probably want to see me answering the question. So the biggest challenge in starting, only one? There's usually more than one. No, I think, as I mentioned, everybody is different. So everybody approaches this process differently. But I think the one thing I recognize pretty consistently is actually a fear of not doing it right, a fear of not having the mindset to carry it through to completion, the fear of what if I can't do this? Like, shouldn't I be able to do this? So there's a lot of fear around being judged, of not doing it right. And somehow that fear can really paralyze us, and that can stop us from making the progress that we can. If we break it down, small steps, it is doable. And, it's interesting because in this kind of work, you do learn a lot about the people you're working with. I mean, you're really in their lives in an intimate way. And so often, the number one question I get, in 6 years that I've been doing this now, is my home as bad as someone else's? Like, have you seen this much mess? Have you seen a fill in the blank kitchen, garage, basement, or whatever, this messy? And so it leads me to believe, like, wow, that's really about like feeling, vulnerable and feeling judged. So I think the fear is a big one, and it's possible to get past it, but it's not always easy, and it's not always easy to do alone.
Yeah, it's great to have someone else there helping you out and helping you make some decisions that you might not be able to make by yourself.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. So how does one know where to start decluttering when they've got that big pile? I know you've talked about your system a little bit. If you can kind of explain a little bit more around that.
So you want to know how to actually start. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay.
Step one
is really, again, the T in Tudos, in my last name, is to think. And think and feel. Like, if you're imagining, what do you want your life to feel like and look like? So in a physical space, you might think about, what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to function like? And then beyond that, it's like, how do you want to feel in that space? So when you think about those things, it gives you the permission to go do it, because it's a way to imagine a different future. And then there are steps, the next part, right, to break it down step by step. But without imagining it, you're sort of like floundering a bit, right? So if you can think about it and then move on to picking, the second part of this answer is to pick an area that's not like an easier thing to start with. You want to build some momentum. You want to have some success so that you're inspired to keep going. So I wouldn't start with, your memorabilia and the things you've held on to since you were a kid. Like, for some people, that's really tough. Again, everybody's different, but usually clothing is a good place to start. Because it's replaceable, you can get more of it. It's something that changes pretty regularly. So again, that's not for everybody. Some people, they're attached to their clothes. But starting with things like that, or maybe it's bathroom items, or maybe it's kitchen or food, or it's starting with a category that you have not as much emotional attachment to. Start there, because then you have success. And then you build on that to keep going.
Yeah, small steps to make the big difference. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. And Jill has a question here. She got two, actually. So we'll start with the first one. What are ways to encourage a hoarder?
Okay, so that's the question.
Yes, that's the first question. Yeah.
Well, again, hoarding can, if you actually look at the word, the definition, it's actually a psychological condition. So sometimes the word gets used differently, where it's like people with a lot of stuff, and there's definitely people with a lot of stuff, but moving from there to the psychological like category of hoarder, I just want to make the distinction, because again, I'm not really qualified to work as it's like having a psychologist, you know, do the organizing with hoarding. But perhaps if we think about hoarding in the sense of like lots of, you know, again, such an amount that it seems overwhelming, it's the same process. I mean, there is a point at which someone is deciding to make a change. You can't force somebody to do it, because even if you do it, it'll go back to what it was. So again, there's that thinking about the change. And again, it's breaking it down into tiny steps. Maybe it is truly, you know, what could be the smallest thing you could organize? Maybe it's the, you know, the 5 sticky notes that are next to your computer, and you just need to organize those and not have them be stuck on your computer, right? Maybe it's just like such a tiny step. Or it's the, you know, how you do your toothbrush situation in your bathroom, you know, like depending on how many people, like, is that, does everyone just have one toothbrush and one toothpaste? Like, we don't need multiples. So again, those are sort of examples that I got off the top of my head, but I'm just like, break it down into tiny steps. It is possible. It can be done. But, you know, again, that's hard work. That's hard. And it takes time, and it takes a lot of emotional energy going out, because we are attached to our things often. And so it's not just a physical activity. It's a really big emotional release.
Yeah, and she does actually, that plays on to her next question. So she says, have you successfully encouraged a hoarder to declutter when the clutter is their comfort? Or maybe she says they should be left to their own ways.
Yeah, again, there's with anything, you can help people to a certain extent, and to the level that they're willing to be helped, right? So you can't force anything. But you're right, like the comfort of things like that often it can be part of our identity. And I think when external items and belongings are attached to who we are, it's very hard to break free from that, because if you don't have that, then who are you? Like, that, now what? You know, it's like naked or exposed. And so and that's why, again, when this kind of level of disorganization or clutter carries, you know, pretty far along, there is organizing, but there is also the psychological piece, the counseling, because that's a life shift, you know.
Big, huge.
It's big. It's big. Yeah.
We do have one more question here from Summer. She says, do you have any general rules that help with decluttering clothes? Like, for example, if you haven't worn something in a year, and she says, etc.
Summer, I'm so glad that it's you. And I know, and it makes me very happy that you've asked me a question about clothes, because I know Summer, and I know she has fabulous clothes. So, I mean, you know, I think as much as we can say that we don't want to have too much, I think we want to enjoy what we have, and perhaps have a use for it. And a use can also mean a joy. And so a good question, again, going back to Marie Kondo, is, does it spark joy, or does it spark something positive in you that makes you want to keep it? You know, because if it's taking up space, I mean, it's taking up physical space, but it's also taking up sort of mental space and emotional space. And again, I do this because it's heavy. It's heavy. You know, one of the things that when I ask people after we work together on a decluttering and organizing project, how do you feel? Often they do this, like a physical reaction of lifting something off. So with clothing, you know, if you have a use for it, if you love it, you need it, you use it, great, keep it. It's a part of you. But if it doesn't fit into those categories, it's a good thing to ask yourself, so why am I holding on to this? Is this like my past? Is this an identity that I had before, but now I'm in a different phase in life? You know, do I need this now? It's a really good question. And it's hard sometimes to accept your answer, because I think we know. Sometimes our gut is pretty good at telling us when you hold something up. Do you like this, or will you wear it? No, one day I might, if I lose 10 pounds, if I take it in, if, but it's not happening, right? So I think hopefully that's helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it seems like there's a theme going on here, like there's a deeper meaning behind all of this, isn't there? So this is very helpful for sure. Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to do one more question, and I think this is quite important. So how can one set up these long-term sustainable systems? Do you have any advice around that?
Sure. Right, because it's true. Like you can have a great session decluttering and doing all these wonderful things and donating bags of things. But if you go back to the same patterns and the same ways of doing things, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, you're going to be in the same situation, right? So if you want that to change, you have to build in a system whereby that is harder to get back to that. So a couple of things, thinking about the seasonal shift. One thing is to put away certain clothes from one season and take out the ones for the next season. But before you do that, go through everything and make sure you're not putting away and bringing out things that no longer serve you. Time to let go of those before you do the organizing, right? So that's just one thing. In terms of a system, again, there are so many fancy systems and simple systems, but having a home for everything, it sounds really simple, but it's actually a little harder than we think, because sometimes we get busy, we get lazy, we just put our clothes over the chair, or we put the paper in the pile, or we do whatever, shove it in the closet, shove it, and then it just adds up. And then we are overwhelmed. We don't want to deal with it. So taking the 30 seconds to put it where you've decided it goes. If you need to change that, you change it, right? But once you decide, take the time to do it, because in the end, it's going to save so much like stress around, getting into that cluttered position again. Having a donate box or bag on hand, close by, whether it's like hiding behind a chair or hanging in your closet, have something ready. So when you come across something that you no longer want, need, love, it goes right into the bag, the box. And then that way, every few months or when it gets full, you take it away. So you make it really easy to let things go out of your house. So those are a few tips. Again, I've got this transformational toolbox, which I think you're going to be sending everyone, which is a really helpful guide. It's 20 tips on how to do exactly, like, how do you sustain the organizing once you've done it. And it's not always easy, it's a tricky balance of living your life fully and also, oh, you're right, this needs to go here, this needs to go here. So you want to set it up in a way that sets you up for success.
Awesome. Thank you. I love that little tip about the keeping a box with a donator giveaway. Yeah. Like, what a great idea. Because then it just kind of sits somewhere else, or you don't deal with it. So I love that. I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Oh, and don't forget your green tape and your Sharpie. Have that label things, so, because sometimes when you put a label, a bright green label on something like fix, you're more inclined to do it. That's like for the action stuff. Because if you do this process, guaranteed there will be actions to take. And you don't want to get caught in, okay, I've organized all this, but now I have this big action pile now, and that's going to be my next problem, right? No, you want to, figure that out and do it.
And now for our closing intentions, over to you, Lee.
Thanks. So if you can please close your eyes as we close this space. As we close our time together with gratitude to all, we pause. to offer each other love and kindness. May our understanding of love be expanded by what we have shared as we open ourselves to growth. May we rest in trust and surrender ourselves and our paths to divine grace, asking that this time together be protected, corrected, and held high. May we now see through love's eyes and understand beyond words. May we all be safe, happy, and healthy. May we all rest in full joy and know that there is no distance between friends in time or space. Divine strength and peace surround us until we meet again. You can open your eyes. A huge, huge thank you to Jessica. As we mentioned, autumn is just, oops. I've got something on my lap and I thought I was about to collapse everything. Autumn really is a natural time of transition and for taking stock and making change. As many of you probably know, that yesterday was the fall equinox, and it really is a great time to reflect on the areas of your life that you may need to let go of, right? Consider what no longer serves you, what might get in your way. And I wanted to share that I have had the opportunity to work with Jessica, and it really was a helpful process. I was able to realize that maybe, you know, she brings all the like things together, and when I saw the like 7 or 8 pair of black boots, I thought, well, maybe I don't need all of them, or, you know, that I don't need, you know, 5 baking sheets. So when you get into the process and when you put things together, you start to realize that you may have more than you really need. And it was, I felt like things felt spacious after doing the process. I felt so much better. And what I love about the process that Jessica does is, you know, the green tape really left me like it was obviously chaos in the process, but at the end, you know, she left me with green tape with little, you know, piles of action item and, you know, what I was to do with each of these. So I wasn't left in this mess. And she literally, you know, all the things that I was getting rid of, she took in her car and took away. So I think, you know, whether you know, work with someone like Jessica or do it yourself, to actually get rid of all that stuff that you're ready to let go of instead of kind of dipping back into it was very helpful, because it's gone, right? You know, there are those things, like I still think about Jessica. I think about that yellow Walkman that, you know, I know the Walkman from like what, the 80s, right? You know, the sport Walkman. I love that. And my dad had put in a Dremel, you know, my last name. And I still think about it, but do I really need it? I'm probably okay without it, right? Like we just can't keep all the things we have. So I really found that that was a powerful process. So if any of you are considering, you know, or would like to potentially work with Jessica, she does offer a 30-minute free clarity call. So we'll be sending out a highlights email by Friday, and it will have all of Jessica's information as well as her one-page takeaway. She talked about her transformational toolbox or transformation toolbox. So it's 20 organizing tips and tricks. And Jessica is also on November 3rd. She'll be launching a new online course, and it's called Start What You Finish: How to Complete Your Project with Confidence. And for all of you that attended this evening, there'll be a LeeLa promotional code, so you'll get 25% off of that course. So thank you, Jessica, for all of that. And a little promo for what we have on next. So we do this every 2 weeks, and on November, oh no, that's Jessica, we have George McNabb. So on Wednesday, October 7th, Speak Easy and Communicate with Confidence. So George McNabb will be doing a session on the mind and its conversation and how to interrupt a person's ability to communicate during a presentation. So breathing and vocal techniques and exercises will be introduced to create a calm ease and to assist you in allowing a natural and relaxed voice so that you can come shining through. So George is a former CBC radio host and a speaking coach. So you can register online for that. And until next time, be well and good night.